top 3 weirdest creatures we have ever filmed. The original nightmare fuel, the BOBBIT worm. This episode of Becoming Brave is brought to you by Summit Adventure Fuel. Unlock your next adventure and get there. And welcome back to another Becoming Brave podcast. I'm your host, Mark Vins, co-founder of the Brave Wilderness YouTube channel, joined today by Andrew and Asa. Welcome back, guys.
Hello, hello.
Thanks for having us. Episode 15.
Episode 15. So far, we've had no outside guests, but that's coming up soon. We're really excited about that. We've been like creating this.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
This podcast started as an idea, and we're really more or less seeing if we could stick to it, and we have every single week.
Every single week. Haven't missed one yet.
Yeah.
By episode
don't plan
100, we
to.
should have a guest on here.
Yeah.
By episode 100.
Yeah, we're working on it. And thanks for everybody who's been listening so far. I love all the feedback. If you have comments or suggestions, drop those in the comments section. And then if you have questions, do that as well. We're going to talk more about that at the end of the podcast, but I want to start getting more questions from the field on the Becoming Brave podcast. But today we are here to talk about, I'm going to go out there and say top 3 weirdest creatures we have ever filmed, and maybe the most extreme animal behavior we've ever filmed. Do you think that's fair?
I think so.
The most nightmarish
Especially,
creature.
yeah, definitely as like a whole story.
Yeah. It's actually funny that it became a trend, but I'm not sure if we coined this or we're definitely like part of the first wave of it, but this episode is about the original nightmare fuel, the BOBBIT worm. The BOBBIT worm, Asa, you cut this video. This was shot in Indonesia.
Limbe.
In Limbe, the Limbe Strait, home of probably the largest biodiversity of very bizarre sea creatures. The BOBBIT worm being at the tip top for me from this trip. So this was filmed a couple years back in Indonesia. A good friend, Kellen, was my dive buddy on this one, and we were filming the original Aquanaut adventures, which we still have some of those coming out, actually.
There are.
Yeah. One's coming out probably before this podcast comes out. The Wonderpuss video.
Yeah, it will. Yep.
Okay. So, yeah, we filmed a lot of sea creatures in Limbe and slowly putting them out. They're pretty tough edits.
They are tricky edits.
Yeah.
Such cool creatures down there. Just trying to get it across to the viewers in a nice tight package.
And this was the first one the BOBBIT worm was the first one we put out on Brave Wilderness.
Yeah. Yep. First thing out of Limbe. And the thing about Limbe is that it looks like it's just this muddy, kind of ugly ground that you go down there and dive with. There's
muck diving.
It is. And
Puts the muck in muck diving.
it really does. Because there's almost nothing else around it. Like all the footage I watched when creating these, it's like it almost all looks identical. And you could be covering a huge amount of ground. But it is just filled with life.
Yeah, so I didn't expect to see a BOBBIT worm on this dive, to be clear. So for people who don't know where Limbe Strait is, it's in Indonesia. They call it the Coral Triangle. It's in the the Western Pacific Ocean, and usually people go there to dive in coral reefs, beautiful coral reefs, like Raja and Part, where we filmed some episodes. Beautiful coral reefs, sea anemones.
Should we pause while you're...
Yeah, I can pause that. Beautiful sea anemones. It's just like a diver's paradise. Where Limbe is a mud flat, muck diving, and the only people who really go there are the ones interested in the most bizarre creatures or macro photographers. So if you like filming really small sea creatures that are weird with giant cameras, Limbe is also going to be your best bet. But we saw a lot of strange stuff. Like, look at these cascading catfish.
I thought this was so cool.
Yeah, it was. Again, you never know what you're going to see. I did not expect to see
It's like
this.
coming out of the darkness, too, to have those coming towards you. It's crazy.
Saltwater catfish are always... Give me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, they're almost like worms themselves. Bubble snail.
Yeah, this was really cool.
Bubble shell. So many species of nudibranch.
So cool looking.
Yeah, they really are so alien.
Highly predatory too. They eat each other. They're cannibalistic. Like, there's actually some cool videos of nudibranchs eating other nudibranchs.
A little shrimpy.
Yeah.
Man, there's so many little creatures swimming around you in all the footage.
The amount.
It's unbelievable, actually. Like,
Yeah.
you can just look at the periphery of the frame. Like, every shot is just...
Yeah, all that
Stuff.
debris. All that debris is living stuff. Yeah,
That's
you're
crazy.
just surrounded by life.
I will say one thing I tried to avoid in this was the amount of trash that's in the water there.
Yeah,
And-
let's talk about that real quick. So there's a lot of pollution, unfortunately, on
Yeah.
some of these like dive sites. This being one of them.
Which would, like, you know, I think for a lot of people, they look at that and they think, like, you're not really messing anything up
Right.
because, like, what's really living there? But it could almost be a Pixar movie of, like, the neglected ocean parts that are...
Yeah, like the Brave Little Toaster
Yeah.
version.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you go to these exotic places in the world and you expect them to be like untouched and pristine, and it's unfortunately not always the case. In the case of Limbe, it's a shipping canal, so there's a ton of debris and garbage, and we were doing a lot of trash pickup when we were on these dives, not only to get it out of the scene, but just to bring it back to the boat. So I had like my pockets full of like candy wrappers and bottle caps and all this stuff that was floating around. And even when we were getting drone shots of the general location, you could just see like plastic floating through the canal in waves. The dive team that we were with told me every single dive they do, they come back with almost a full trash bag full of trash. So just goes to show you, like, if you're out in the wild, you're out in nature and you see pollution, do what you can, because every little bit does help at the end of the day.
It definitely adds up.
If everyone tries to leave it better than they found it, I think the world will be a pretty good place.
Absolutely. Yeah. Leave no trace and try to like erase some of the traces that you do see. Back to catfish. Oh, wait. We're beyond the catfish. Oh,
Here is another
cuttlefish.
really bizarre and unique creature. This is a cuttlefish. Related to the octopus, these sea creatures are super intelligent. In fact, some scientists believe they're more intelligent than their 8-armed cousins. Let's carefully
So a
swim up
cuttlefish,
a
for those who
closer
don't know what a cuttlefish is, it's sort of the in-between a squid and an octopus.
Now, does it
look.
have a
What's really unique
shell?
about these creatures
They have an
on our site
internal shell.
Oh,
is
okay.
how they
Yeah,
change
so
their
they are
coloration
a
almost
cephalopod,
instantaneously.
just like an octopus or a squid, and they use that internal structure to for buoyancy. You can
Oh,
actually
this is moving
find
in
them
front.
washed up on the beach. Sometimes you'll see like this, almost like a disc. It looks like a white disc. That's the internal
almost got that
structure
fish.
of a cuttlefish.
That fish was so
Yeah.
lucky.
That was cool. He had some feeding behavior there.
Oh,
That's sort of the theme of this video, isn't it, Asa?
the cuttlefish is turning right toward me.
Whoa, it
The-
does have it
the-
like an intelligence to
Now,
it.
some
Yeah,
scientists
way it's
the-
looking at you.
not
The
only
color
do they change
shift
their
on them is
coloration
so
as
incredible.
a camouflage technique, but they can actually communicate through the change in color and pattern in their skin. I wonder if it's trying to tell
This
me
is
something.
cool. Look at this.
Clearly, it knows that I'm no longer a threat. It's hanging out. Let me just
Look at that.
put my hand out right.
These cuttlefish can like jet away in just a split second. So the fact that it's hanging out with
This
me
is
and,
too cool.
you know, allowing me to essentially like bounce it on the palm of my glove and looking at me like that,
cuttlefish
it is
It's so
definitely
comfortable with
interacting.
us.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
There's
letting me-
no other
yeah,
way to describe this.
almost
This is
use
an
my
interaction
hand to perch.
between a
Now, make no
alien-looking
mistake, these
creature
cuttlefish
and a
are
human being.
super fast. They could swim away in a split
Their
second
bodies
if
are
they
so
wanted to.
strange.
Look at that.
Couple of tentacles at the
And
front.
it's likely just as curious about me as I am about it.
That was one of the coolest, like,
That is really,
I
really
don't-
cool.
Yeah.
you know, going into this, I'm just thinking bobbit worm, and we're going to get to all that. But man, that was so cool having a moment with a cuttlefish in the middle of
Look at your
Indonesia.
eyes in this moment.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my gosh, that was crazy.
It was crazy.
So cool.
This is a
I've
little
venomous
foreshadowing.
spines
Seeing a
on the
scorpion
dorsal
fish.
and pectoral fins.
Something you're very
If you
familiar with.
accidentally
Yes,
brush
I've been
into
stung
them,
by one of
they can
those
give you
before.
A really nasty sting. I know all too well just how it feels because I once took a sting from the scorpion fish myself.
There it is. And this is when we spot it.
What is that?
There it is. It looks very unassuming until you get
That's
close.
a bobbit worm.
Boom. A bobbit worm.
Just hanging out.
Jaws wide open. And this was very close to when Dune 1 had just hit the theaters. So timing wise, like everyone was thinking like sandworm, like killer sandworm was on my brain. I saw this. I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I'm looking at a real bobbit worm. And it's been one of the most requested creatures to be filmed on Brave Wilderness for many, many, many years.
Yeah. There's been a lot of people asking too if you'll ever do the bite.
Ooh.
Especially after the bloodworm video, people were like, the bobbit worm. We got to see the bobbit worm.
Yeah. And they're big. I will say, like, the first thing that I thought of when I saw this bobbit worm, I was impressed by how large it was. I thought they would be like the size of a bloodworm, almost like where the head would be like this. No, dude, that head is like this big.
So freaky.
Over 3 inches wide, fang to fang. And you can see here on the screen, the head of the worm is sticking up. These are jaws, snares. They're like a bear trap. And they use these sensors that stick up from the back of the head to sense what is swimming in front of that trap. And if it's something they want to eat, boom, slams the door shut and drags them down.
Because how long are they? Like, how much is under?
I think
under
it could be
the
up
thing
to
there?
like 3 feet.
Yeah,
Man.
they're long. They're many, many feet. So you see all these like,
Leg type things.
they're like legs, like parapodia almost, but they're more rigid. They're like hooks. I think they're actually venomous.
Ooh.
I think they can spine you with these. But you think about that extended over many feet. It has
Lot of surface area.
All that surface area compounding to pull things down underneath.
Oh.
So you're not pulling that out, and it's pulling everything down.
Yep.
Yeah. And we're about to see that happen. So I'm going to kill the audio so
We
can
got
talk
to
over
get
it.
in for a closer look.
And it is nightmare fuel. You know, one of the first things when you're actually diving with a bobbit worm is you're looking around to see where the other bobbit worms are.
You would not want to get like a
No.
finger.
That's not a sign.
Foot, anything.
Accidentally get your groin area a little too close. That would be very bad. That would be a bad day. And I believe they are
Look at
strong
its
enough
skin.
and the fangs are sharp enough to get through a
Iridescent.
wetsuit.
It almost
I think
has
they definitely
a
could.
rainbow.
Oh,
Serrated
they're so
eyes.
powerful.
It's crazy how one has
Serrated
like
jaws,
serrations on it, and
open
one is like
and
smooth.
ready to
Like
clasp
Yeah.
they're
any
just designed to
would-be victim
grip and
that
cut.
crosses its path.
And you can just tell they're strong by the way they
And do you see
sort
those
of
little antennae
assert themselves
right
in
by
and
the
out
jaws? Those are
of the
sensory
muck.
organs,
They don't
sensing the
move
chemicals and vibrations
like
in the
they're out of
water.
control. It's very
So it can
deliberate.
detect prey
Like they are
and launch out
deliberately
for an
deciding
attack.
to move up and down.
that's a crazy shot right there.
And with a body length of up to 10 feet, there's a lot
Alright, here we
more
go.
to this
Nice
worm than
animation.
meets the eye.
Good
And
animation.
using all that friction that it has from that long burrow, it possesses incredible strength. It can take down large fish as prey in a split second.
Creepy. Look at that thing.
Creepy.
That's the mouth right there. So let's go back to that. Let's just stop.
For the audio only listeners, it's just horrifying. It's
Yeah.
just
It really is like a
terrible
horror
looking.
movie monster.
And the jaws and the teeth are just so robust and rigid. And you can see here when they snap shut, it opens up the mouth. This is the mouth right here of the worm.
Ah, it's so alien.
It's like a trap door. When they slam shut, this becomes the opening, and it essentially drags things beneath the surface to suffocate them and kill them and envenomate them. And as they decompose, they can start to, yeah. So it's not exactly like a boa constrictor or a snake that would just swallow it whole. It wouldn't have like a bulge in it. It breaks them down and picks them apart piece by piece after
Kind
they're
of like a crustacean.
yeah. So they're very much an ambush predator. They're there waiting, sensing, bang, snaps close and drags it down to its doom, and then slowly eats it.
Oh my gosh.
So you kind of wonder how many bobbit worms are just down there devouring something they've already eaten. There's probably hundreds of bobbit worms at this site. This one just happened
happens to be hungry.
yeah, this one just happened to be hunting. So I used a little stick here to see if I could get it to snap, and sure enough, it
Oh.
did. So that just proves right there, if I did want to do a bite test, it is doable.
Oh yeah.
It is 100% doable.
I think it would almost respond faster to a finger going in there.
I bet it could take a finger.
I think it could.
And
at
when
that,
you're
yeah.
underwater, you're diving. You can't
Take that kind of risk.
risk that. Just thinking about that gives me the creeps. So we're filming this bobbit worm, and I'm thinking that stick test is going to be the end. You know, all right, cool, we've got some good behavior. I didn't know this was going to turn into a prime episode or a prime featured animal. I'm like, this might be like a, you know, creature that we feature for another video. But then what happens next is what turned this into a prime video. Pufferfish shows up.
Oh man, look at that. Cruising.
And you're like,
He looks
cute.
so innocent.
It's a cute porcupine fish. And I'm just like, get out of here, swim away. It was definitely drawn into our lights.
Yeah, I liked the lights.
So a lot of our night dives in Limbe particularly would draw in all the baits, all the krill and plankton and things that porcupine fish would want to eat. Would get drawn into the light. So that's why you have all these other creatures buzzing around. So in a way, you could almost do a night dive in a muck area and just sit there.
That's pretty wild. Like if you're in the pitch dark like that and you have your lights on, you could probably only see what's in your lights, and then all the stuff is just like rushing towards you.
Yeah. It was disorienting at times. There was a couple of times I was diving, I was surrounded by so much plankton and just stuff, debris, that I couldn't tell which way was up.
Ooh.
It just felt like a vortex.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was gnarly. Oh, and here it goes, getting in position. It's like it sensed that there was prey in the area. Do you see that, how it hit itself?
Yeah. It's pretty crazy how it draws some debris over its sensors too.
Oh, and look at that.
Smack down.
Look how it reached up. That is not what I expected to happen. Watch this again. Look at that.
Closed a few inches.
Yeah. I thought something would have to swim in. I thought maybe it would have to like peck around and accidentally touch
The sensor.
the sensors to trigger it. No. It can sense the chemical and the movement in the water, and it reaches up and grabs it. Just to make them even more terrifying.
Yeah. That
Boom.
explosive speed, too.
But what's super cool about this is the defense mechanism of the porcupine fish.
Yeah.
That's what made this scene. Porcupine fish immediately blows up, and at this point I'm thinking it's game over for this fish. There's no way it's going to survive this. But sure enough, puffed up, spines out. And then I think that's where it got let go right there. Boom.
Wow.
Swims away.
Lucky day for the porcupine fish.
Yeah. Felt really good about
That
the fact that it
porcupine
got
fish
away. I was like, all right,
He's
yes.
very lucky to have escaped
Cool
the
footage.
bobbit worm.
Porcupine fish
But that
survives.
was pretty
That's a
interesting
win.
to see it use its
And you can
defense
see it's totally
mechanism
fine.
to puff up like that
Not hurt.
and to be successful with it.
It really lucked out.
Yeah.
Super lucky fish. Wonder where that porcupine fish is right now.
You'd think it would
Let's
swim
wait
away
here
a
for a
little
second.
further
Yeah.
away from the bottom.
Yeah. No, it's just like, all
Finding
right.
the other prey.
And you can see that the bobbit worm is not satisfied. So after seeing this,
They're so iridescent too. Oh my god.
we decided to hang
crazy.
out.
Yeah.
We wanted to hang out. but
This
like-
was a little bit of time passage here. We spent up for the video.
Look who
And
showed
then
up.
sure enough, our scorpion fish friend
Look.
decides to come investigate.
I wonder if the scorpion fish thinks this bobbit
Look how it
worm
uses
could be
its
food.
fins to walk along the
It
bottom.
certainly is creeping in really slow.
And this is what this scene is what
Let's
makes
hang
the
here for a
video.
second to see
I
what
mean,
happens.
I can still hardly believe we caught this on camera. Never thought I would ever witness anything like this in my entire life. It's like stepping on a landmine. Oh.
Poor guy. Those nose.
And just snatched. Look at how fast. This is all slowing down.
Yeah. We'll say the sound design on this part is helps sell it.
Should
But-
we,
Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. Let's live in the moment.
yeah, I mean,
Here we go. Instant replay.
gosh, the fish has no idea where it's walking. Bang. mean, you can just tell that that scorpion fish is just done. And then
Gone.
slurped right beneath the surface.
It's nuts. The speed.
This is what's crazy to me. This next shot where you can see the
It's the dust settles.
sand
Wow.
just burbling.
I cannot believe what we just saw. I think we're going to need to see that one more time, but this time
It's
we're gonna
amazing
slow
how
it down.
like it's totally under the surface entirely. Like no fins sticking up, no anything. It is just gone.
Yeah, so there's no way that bobbit worm is
When-
ingesting that fish whole.
Yeah.
So it's dragging it beneath the muck. The fish will die, and then as it starts to decompose, the worm will.
It went right for the jugular.
It did. Ugh, gnarly. It's just brutal. Wildlife and nature can be so unforgiving
Oh, yeah.
and brutal. And on that note, I feel like that's one thing that I'm proud of Brave Wilderness. We don't always shield from that. We want to show people or expose people to some of that truth that is Mother Nature. You know, it's not just, you know, Nemo and the turtles that keep on swimming out there. There's some life or death moments happening all the time.
It's a harsh
Especially,
reality.
See how the
Yeah.
bobbit
Like
worm
you kind of want to root for the
inspired
fish in a way,
the
but
movies
if the fish
Dune
gets away, the
and
bobbit
Tremors.
worm goes hungry. you
Look
know?
at the
Doesn't
sand
eat.
bubbling.
it's all part of
I
that
can only
circle. And
imagine what's happening
sometimes
down
it's
there
tough to
with
watch.
these
So I found
fish.
this very fascinating. I'm sure some people feel very sad for the fish, and that is totally
That
fair.
might be
But for me,
the most disturbing
I think
thing
that
I have ever
seeing
seen on
a giant
any
3-foot worm take down
Wow.
a very venomous fish, that is a crazy circumstance.
It's pretty wild that you have a first-hand experience with the scorpion fish too.
Scientists
From
are
this
still
thing,
uncovering
Yeah.
the mysteries of
which you
this
can watch on the
notorious
Market's
creature.
channel.
Not
Good
only
plug.
seeking to understand its behavior,
Slick.
but also its role in the environment. But one thing is for certain: these creatures are absolutely
man.
terrifying.
Look how much life is
Alright.
in the frame. There's like a little worm right next to it, like with the two antennas sticking up right to the right
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
does a baby bobbit worm look like?
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's-
I'm
that's
actually
mama worm.
curious. I actually don't know how bobbit worms have more bobbit worms.
I'm pretty well. There's a segmented worm.
Mm-hmm.
They probably split. They probably divide, and that's how they become.
Yeah, the end piece just goes off and
Yeah.
worms
New worm.
Worms are gnarly.
Yeah. Oof. So obviously that's not on the bite sting index. But Asa, what are some of your reflections of cutting that video? 'Cause you saw a lot more footage than what was there.
Yeah, I mean they're terrifying. Any way you look at them, like they absolutely inspired sci-fi movies.
The movie Tremors, bobbit worm.
Yeah.
That is exactly
100%.
Let's pull that up. Yeah, I mean right there. That's a bobbit worm.
Yep.
Even look at
Yeah.
this. Absolutely inspired by the bobbit worm.
I think if they were even like 1/3 the size of people in terms of like you make them twice as
Oh, they would eat people.
thick, they're going after you.
Oh yeah,
100%.
6 inches. They could get right around the leg.
Mm-hmm.
This one had a lot of comments for the amount of views. Over almost 2,000 comments for a 1.8 million view video. That's a lot.
Had big reactions. People were definitely
People
into
really like the cuttlefish
it.
It was
encounter.
a
I'm
great
proud to
encounter.
see that.
Yep.
Because people are clicking on this to see the bobbit worm, and then that cuttlefish was a nice happenstance. And in terms of my most memorable moment from this, I mean, seeing the bobbit worm eat the scorpion fish is hard to top. But I mean, dude, having that moment with the cuttlefish,
Super cool. That's like
Unbelievable.
that's a moment of a lifetime.
Yep.
yeah, one of the coolest interactions that I've had underwater with an animal that is super strange and alien. Like I've swam with dolphins and sharks and I've had some other great encounters, but that one was probably the most unexpected that I've had.
And the intelligence that like you could just tell that there's
Yeah,
a lot going on behind that cuttlefish's eyes.
So we have some comments.
Yeah.
But before we get to the comments, let's talk a little bit about the becoming brave moment. Like, what is the moment of bravery for this?
I think this really just applies for you on this one. I wasn't one of the divers down there, so
Yeah,
I don't
Kellen
know
may
what
have
it's
a one to throw in.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the moment of bravery is being able to like go like knees down elbows down in the sand to watch all this unfold, knowing that there could be bobbit worms all around my body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was top of mind. Put it that way. You're just like, oh no, oh no.
Not even a-
You can't see them.
even
If
being
it got your wrist, that'd be like a pretty dangerous situation.
yeah.
Totally.
Oh yeah.
Totally.
Sensitive area.
And also
yeah.
just bleeding all over the place in the water at night. Freaky.
Yeah, and we weren't super deep there. I think we were probably around 20 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like we were down 100 feet and it was a really technical dive. It was pretty easy to get back to the surface. But it's still nighttime. It's very disorienting. You can only see in front of you where the lights touch. Everything behind you is just pure black.
Mm-hmm.
I think night diving's probably pretty freaky to a lot of people. Like that whole concept.
Mm-hmm.
People, yeah, it is intimidating. I know when I first started night diving, I had that same level of intimidation. But once you do go on your first night dive, you quickly learn that that's where the coolest animals come out. And you see all the color. So all that blue spectrum that you see during the day from the sunlight, you know, being your main light source, that's gone. And it's only the close proximity you have with your dive light. So everything is just very saturated and vibrant. And
All turned to like daylight light, like
yes.
daylight lighting, like we would see it.
So
on
night
the
night
surface.
diving's where it's at. If you're a new scuba diver or you've scuba dived for a while and you haven't done a night dive, like do yourself a favor and take advantage on a night dive. Like it is super cool. And you don't have to go deep. Again, you can go in like shallow reefs and stuff that's a little less intimidating to start with, but you're going to see like squid, octopus, some of the most colorful coral, and all the little creepy crawly creatures, not always bobbit worms. I mean, bobbit worms are pretty special. Like I'm trying to think, I've only been diving in even a couple locations that they're known to be. This was even unexpected to see these bobbit worms. Yeah, we didn't go out being like, we're going to see the bobbit worms. We were just going out on a night dive and we just found this bobbit worm. I mean, had we gone back the next night, it wouldn't have been there because it would be eating a scorpion fish. So just goes to show you everything about diving is circumstantial. There's no guarantees because of reasons like that. If it's out, it's out. If it's not, you wouldn't even know the difference. I mean, it could be right in front of you in the sand. You would never see it.
Right.
And that is also kind of creepy and scary. That there are bobbit worms just lurking around out there that you can't see.
It's like a centipede that lives in the ground underwater.
It is like an ocean centipede.
Yeah.
And supersized.
Yeah.
Is the centipede like the land cousin of the
I
bobbit
feel-
worm
Yeah,
in
that's
terms
fair.
of fear factory?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, nightmare fuel on land. It's hard to think of anything topping a centipede. A giant centipede.
Now imagine a centipede, I mean a bobbit worm sized centipede, 3 feet long. That'd be a problem.
It'd be the most dangerous animal in the world.
Yeah.
It would kill people.
It would, yeah, it would be, definitely be going for people.
Totally.
fair game.
Oh, we are so fortunate that we don't have like an active predator that tries to eat us like a bobbit worm.
Imagine if humans were just like 1/3 the size. If we were just tiny.
Everything would be a lot more
Yeah.
dangerous.
Yeah. Woof. Anyway, all right, we got some comments, guys. Let's get to the
check 'em
comment
out.
section. By the way, if you would like to have your comment or question featured on the Becoming Brave podcast, please drop a comment in this video. It doesn't have to be about this podcast. It can be about anything you want to know in the Brave Wilderness universe or beyond.
Hit us up.
Best questions will be picked, and we will give you a shout out like we were about to do for Dustbin 5044, who said, well, I think we've already answered this, unfortunately. How big do bobbit worms grow today? And then how big did prehistoric bobbit worms get?
Oh, God.
Well, I guess we answered the first half. And I'm going to fact check this real quick, but I'm pretty sure it's 3 feet.
It might be meters. I can't remember what
3 meters. Holy cow.
That would be really long.
That's
way too long.
yeah, no way. It's like 10 feet almost.
Ah!
Yes, it is 3
It is 10
meters.
feet.
I knew it.
Oh my gosh.
So,
That
okay.
is- that puts a whole new layer to this video.
We got the 3 right.
Yeah,
we got
yeah.
the
Units
units
wrong.
were wrong.
Way off.
So
Oh
bobbit worms can grow
my-
to 10 feet.
That's crazy.
That is diabolical.
Imagine those jaws at the top of a basketball rim
Oh,
hanging to the
God.
ground.
Oh,
And they're pretty girthy. They're not small worms. Wow, I didn't even realize that. Jeez, 10 feet. I always thought it was 3 feet. And that creeped
Average
me out.
size is around 3 to 6 feet. But,
Okay.
I mean, geez, still I mean, that's like putting 3 feet at the very smallest end
Yeah.
of the size spectrum there. Oh my!
I don't know much about prehistoric bobbit worms, but we're going to check it out anyway.
50 feet. I wonder if they haven't changed all that much. I mean, it seems like one of those creatures that like just reached its kind of like its final form of evolution and kind of just hung out there like a.
It seems like it's
horseshoe
saying
crab.
roughly this.
The
Same.
largest bobbit worm was 9.81 feet. It was an inch wide. I'm trying to see if there's anything about.
It's pretty gross.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like fossil record because they're a worm and they're like a soft body. There's probably
Look at
not a
this.
great fossil record.
The terrifying bobbit worm has a huge ancient cousin.
Let's look into this. Yeah, I mean,
pretty
10
sa- I mean,
feet
like,
is
why-
Goliath?
Why would they need to really adapt? You know what I mean? Like they're kind of
it's like a horseshoe crab.
Yeah.
They've
They're
been the same for hundreds of
kind
millions
of a
years.
perfect
Yeah.
predator down there.
Mhm.
Like nothing's really going to be coming for them, and they can just.
All right, Dustbin. So 10 feet is the answer to your first question. Second question is question mark. We don't really know, but
10 feet.
fossil records are pretty rough, and we would estimate that the bobbit worm is a bit of a living fossil.
Yeah.
So we're going with 10 feet. All right, next up, Doc Nayan. Is it named after John Bobbitt, the infamous severed and then reattached member story? Yes, it is. It actually is.
Yeah.
If you want to know more about that story, you should do some research. It's easy to find the story, but I will warn you, it is pretty dark.
What did they call this worm before the 80s though? That's my question.
I don't know if they had it like defined.
Really? Wow. Interesting.
Bristleworm, maybe. I don't know.
Well,
like,
bristleworm's a different kind of worm. Probably not. No, but I mean, there was probably just no awareness of
Yeah.
it.
That's crazy.
There's a lot of animals like that have
Yeah.
just only because of the age of the internet become known.
Mm-hmm.
I think before that, I remember when I was a little kid, my grandmother had a Britannica encyclopedia set, and we would open it up and learn about animals that way.
Wow.
Yeah, so there was no like, hey, what's a bobbit worm? Like, there's no way to do that. You had to have your encyclopedia set. So yeah, there you go, Doc. All right, next up, we have Paul Breu. I think that's how you pronounce it. 909. Willing to try the bobbit worm, Mark.
Is there a way to get it on land? Like,
You'd have to be able to do it where you weren't on a scuba dive.
mm-hmm.
That's the tricky part. And as far as I know, no one is keeping bobbit worms as pets. And maybe that is something we should search. Is there such thing as a pet bobbit worm? Because that would be the only
very
way.
unique tank because you need a lot of feet of sediment below for it to, hang out comfortably.
They have special care needs that are not usually kept as pets due to their aggressive nature and special needs. They're ambush predators. They grow large. They need a lot of substrate. You would need to have
Feet.
like a swimming pool, a sized aquarium,
Mm-hmm.
to even consider keeping one of these things.
There was like an aquarium in a. Like it was a commercial aquarium where people could visit. And they got like a delivery of something. Their fish started to go missing within the tank.
Oh no!
And it turns out within like one of the deliveries of whatever they got, there was a bobbit worm that then ended up growing and eating a bunch of their.
So yes, it does look like people do have these as pets, but those are much smaller.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen videos of guys like going around like when they can kind of tell where one is, and it'll be like in the wash at a beach, and they'll like put down like a little like fish type thing, and the worm will come up and grab it, and they grab it with pliers and yank the whole thing out, and it's always like 3 feet long.
Ugh.
Now I think
creepy.
those are some other kind of worm. I'm not sure they're bobbit worms.
Mm-hmm.
There's other
no,
worms
they're
that
much
do this.
smaller. They're
Yeah.
much narrower. They're like.
I have
not
seen
even-
those videos.
Yeah.
They're fun to watch.
Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah. So it looks like technically it could be possible. I don't know.
Difficult.
Very difficult to film, very difficult to pull off. And I'm not really sure, if it's a small bobbit worm, is it even going to be rateable? But we will consider it. Paul, thank you for writing in that comment. Will I try a bobbit worm? The answer is maybe. Keep you in suspense. Cool. Well, that is pretty much the pod, guys. That is today's review of the bobbit worm. Thanks for everyone who's been listening so far. Again, land in the comments anything you want to see or hear about on future episodes. Thanks again to Andrew and Asa, specifically nod to Asa for cutting the bobbit worm video, bringing it to the world. And we will catch up with you guys next time on the Becoming Brave podcast. I'm Mark Vins, and we'll see you.